Picture this. You're at the grocery store, willing to pay double for that organic apple because you want to avoid synthetic chemicals. You read USDA Organic on the label and feel good about your choice? Natural, pure, chemical-free, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. The USDA Organic certification, the gold standard that drives a $50 billion industry, actually permits 205 synthetic and non-organic substances. 205? That organic apple you just bought? It could have been washed with chlorine solutions. The organic wine you're saving for dinner? Loaded with sulfites. Those organic strawberries your kids love? Potentially treated with copper sulfate, a compound so toxic it's used as a fungicide and algaecide. Here's what'll really blow your mind. Formaldehyde and ammonia are both on the USDA's approved list for organic production. You know formaldehyde, the stuff they use to preserve dead bodies. But sure, spray it on your organic crops. The national list of allowed and prohibited substances reads like a chemistry textbook, not a farmer's almanac. Organic livestock can receive synthetic vitamins and medications. Organic processed foods can contain dozens of synthetic additives. Even organic farmers can use synthetic pesticides in specific situations. Yet walk down any grocery aisle and you'll see families reaching for organic products, convinced they're avoiding exactly these kinds of chemicals. Market research shows that 73% of organic buyers believe organic means zero synthetic substances. They're paying premium prices for what they think is a chemical-free guarantee that simply doesn't exist. The organic industry has built an empire on this misunderstanding, raking in billions while consumers remain blissfully unaware that their natural food contains many of the same synthetic compounds they're trying to avoid. But how did we get to a place where organic doesn't mean what most people think it means? Here's the dirty secret nobody talks about. The organic industry wrote its own rulebook. When Congress passed the Organic Foods Production Act in 1990, they didn't leave the details to government bureaucrats or independent scientists. They handed the pen to the very companies that stood to profit most from organic regulations. The National Organic Standards Board, the group tasked with deciding what chemicals get approved, was packed with industry insiders from day one. Cornucopia Institute investigators dug through meeting records and found board members from Whole Foods, General Mills, and major organic distributors voting on which synthetic substances would make the approved list. Think about that for a second. The same companies selling you pure organic food were the ones deciding which chemicals could go into it. The National Organic Program's own documents revealed just how cozy this relationship was. Industry trade associations didn't just provide input. They drove the entire rulemaking process. Former board members have gone on record saying the priority was always protecting market share, not consumer clarity. They needed regulations loose enough to scale production, but strict enough to maintain premium pricing. This wasn't some conspiracy in a smoke-filled room. It was regulatory capture happening in broad daylight. The organic industry successfully lobbied to keep synthetic substances that made their operations profitable while banning ones that didn't matter to their bottom line. They got exactly the rules they wanted. Complex enough that consumers wouldn't understand them, flexible enough that industrial-scale organic production could thrive. The result? A certification system that prioritizes industry needs over the consumer expectations it created. Every time you see that USDA Organic seal, you're looking at regulations written by the same people selling you the product. They built the perfect system for them. So what exactly are these 205 approved synthetic chemicals, and why might some be more concerning than their conventional alternatives? Here's where things get really twisted. The organic industry doesn't just use synthetic chemicals. It often uses more dangerous ones than conventional farming. Take copper sulfate, a favorite fungicide in organic agriculture. Research published in Nature shows this natural chemical accumulates in soil for decades, building up toxic concentrations that kill beneficial microorganisms and contaminate groundwater. Meanwhile, the synthetic fungicides banned from organic farms. They break down within weeks, leaving no lasting environmental damage. But organic advocates banned the safer option because it wasn't natural. Then there's rotenone, a botanical pesticide the organic industry championed for decades. Natural source, organic approved, consumer friendly, until researchers linked it directly to Parkinson's disease. Studies found that people exposed to rotenone had a 2.5 times higher risk of developing the neurological disorder. The USDA finally banned it in 2018, but only after 20 years of organic farmers spraying this neurotoxin on crops while claiming the moral high ground over synthetic alternatives. University of California research reveals another uncomfortable truth. Organic farms typically require 2 to 3 times more pesticide applications than conventional ones. Those approved organic chemicals are often less effective, so farmers compensate with volume and frequency. Your organic vegetables might actually see more chemical treatments than conventional crops. The real kicker? Some of the safest, most targeted pesticides ever developed are banned from organic production simply because they're synthetic. Modern fungicides that break down in sunlight, insecticides that only affect specific pest species, herbicides that become inert the moment they hit soil. All forbidden in organic farming. So organic growers stick with older, broader spectrum chemicals that persist in the environment and affect more species, including beneficial ones. They're choosing environmental persistence over environmental safety, all to maintain the fiction that natural equals better. The plot thickens when you look at which safer alternatives are mysteriously banned from organic production. The organic rulebook doesn't just permit questionable chemicals. It actively bans safer alternatives for the most absurd reason imaginable: they're synthetic. Cornell University food scientists documented one of the most ridiculous examples. Synthetic ascorbic acid. Vitamin C is completely banned from organic food processing. Why? Because it's made in a lab. Never mind that it's chemically identical to natural vitamin C, molecule for molecule. Your body literally cannot tell the difference. But organic rules say lab-made equals forbidden, even when the synthetic version is purer and more stable. Meanwhile, organic producers can freely use naturally derived ethylene gas to ripen fruits. Some toxicologists consider this more concerning than synthetic alternatives because natural ethylene contains trace impurities that lab-synthesized versions eliminate. But hey, it comes from plants, so it gets the organic seal of approval. The vitamin E situation is even more maddening. Synthetic vitamin E identical in every measurable way to the natural version. Cannot touch organic products. Food manufacturers have to source natural vitamin E that costs 5 times more and often comes with higher contamination risks from the extraction process. The end result in your food? Exactly the same vitamin, just with a higher price tag and potentially more processing residues. This backwards logic extends to preservatives too. Safer synthetic antioxidants that prevent food spoilage and reduce waste are banned, forcing organic producers to rely on natural alternatives that are often less effective and sometimes more problematic. Modern targeted pesticides designed to minimize environmental impact? Forbidden. The organic industry prefers older, natural chemicals with broader ecological effects. The precautionary principle gets selectively applied based on origin stories, not actual safety data. If it's synthetic, it's guilty until proven innocent, and sometimes even after being proven innocent. If it's natural, well, nature knows best, right? This selective chemistry creates real-world consequences that go beyond just labeling confusion. But this selective chemistry creates real-world consequences that extend far beyond confused shoppers and premium pricing. The environmental and safety impacts of organic regulations tell a story that might shock you. Meta-analysis research published in Environmental Research Letters dropped a bombshell. Organic farming produces 20% lower yields on average compared to conventional methods. 20%. That means feeding the same number of people requires significantly more land under organic cultivation. More land cleared, more habitats destroyed, more carbon released from soil conversion. The carbon footprint comparison gets even worse. Because organic crops often need more tillage to control weeds without synthetic herbicides, they release more stored carbon from soil. For some crops like organic wheat, the total greenhouse gas emissions per pound of food actually exceed conventional farming. You're paying extra to increase your environmental impact. Then there's the food safety myth. A Stanford University systematic review of 237 studies found that organic and conventional foods have virtually identical contamination rates. E. coli doesn't care whether the spinach was grown with synthetic or organic approved fertilizers. FDA surveillance data backs this up. Organic produce recalls happen just as frequently as conventional ones, sometimes more so because organic farms rely heavily on manure-based fertilizers that can harbor dangerous pathogens. The nutritional benefits? Also largely imaginary. That same Stanford analysis found minimal differences in vitamin and mineral content between organic and conventional foods. The few differences that did exist were nutritionally insignificant. We're talking about variations so small they wouldn't affect your health if you ate nothing but organic or conventional food for decades. So consumers pay double the price for food that's not measurably safer, not more nutritious, and often worse for the environment per calorie produced. The premium pricing has zero correlation with the benefits organic marketing promises. So where does this leave consumers who want to make informed food choices? Behind every organic purchase decision sits a $50 billion marketing machine working overtime to keep you confused. The Organic Trade Association alone spends over $5 million annually on promotion and lobbying, not to educate consumers about what organic actually means, but to preserve the profitable misconceptions that drive sales. Their campaigns flood you with images of pristine farms, happy cows, and chemical-free fields, despite knowing their certified products contain synthetic substances. Marketing researchers at the University of Pennsylvania found that organic packaging uses nature imagery 400% more often than conventional products. Rolling hills, sunrise scenes, hand-drawn vegetables, all designed to trigger your mental shortcuts about purity and naturalness, even when the actual production methods look remarkably similar. But here's where it gets really cynical. Industry-funded studies consistently use research methodologies that favor organic products. They'll compare organic vegetables at peak freshness to conventional ones that have been shipped and stored longer. They'll test nutrient levels right after harvest for organics while testing conventional produce after weeks in distribution. The results? Meaningless comparisons that generate headlines about organic superiority. The lobbying arm works just as hard to prevent clearer labeling. Trade associations have successfully fought regulations that would require disclosure of approved synthetic substances on organic packaging. They've blocked efforts to define terms like natural that might compete with their organic premium. Consumer surveys consistently show that 70% of organic buyers believe they're avoiding synthetic chemicals entirely, exactly the misunderstanding the industry profits from maintaining. This isn't accidental confusion. It's a deliberate strategy to protect market share by keeping consumers in the dark about what organic certification actually permits. Every marketing dollar spent reinforces myths that boost sales while avoiding the transparency that might hurt them. But understanding these marketing tactics can help you make better decisions. The organic label isn't inherently good or bad, it's just not what most people think it is. Once you understand that reality, you can make food choices based on evidence instead of marketing myths. Here's the thing nutrition scientists actually recommend. Focus on eating more fruits and vegetables, period. Whether they're organic or conventional matters far less than whether you're eating them at all. Harvard researchers tracking diet quality for over 2 decades found that the single biggest factor in health outcomes was total produce consumption, not production method. You're better off buying conventional vegetables you can afford than skipping them because organic versions are too expensive. Want to reduce pesticide residues? The Environmental Working Group's own data shows that washing and peeling removes more chemical residues than choosing organic. A thorough rinse under running water eliminates 75 to 85% of pesticide residues from both organic and conventional produce. That conventional apple becomes cleaner than an unwashed organic one. Make choices based on what you can verify, not what marketing wants you to believe.